Tonight's homework focused on translating expressions. And these are an important skill, especially when we start getting into solving word problems. And the word problems give you terms such as the quotient of a number and 10. You need to be able to understand what that's saying so that you can write it in terms of an expression. And then eventually we'll get into writing them in terms of an equation and actually solving the equation for a solution. So let's look at a couple of these examples. We always do one. Let's skip to number 2. So number 2, the product of 8 and a number. So product is a term which represents multiplication. So I know I'm going to have a multiplication, and I'm going to have an 8 because that's the number given. And number can be anything. So it's going to be a variable. I can give it any variable I want. So I could give it an x or I could give it an n. It doesn't really matter. So 8 times n can be simplified by saying just 8n. Let's look at another one, number 6. 4 less than a number. This one seems to be one that kind of stirs people up because they say 4 less than a number, and automatically they're going to say 4 minus x. But that's not quite what this expression is saying. When we say it in terms of, in our natural common language or vernacular, we say Jim has 4 donuts less than Bob. It comes a little bit more naturally to us to think of, well, how many donuts does Bob have? And then we subtract 4 from that. And so we do this all the time in our daily interactions with products and numbers and values. But when we see it on paper, sometimes it stumps us up. So 4 less than a number. If I wanted to, technically, I could say Jim has 4 less than Bob. And that would give me the same information in my head so I could put it down right. But now I know that 4 less than a number, I got to have a number. So I'm going to give that number the variable a. And in order to represent 4 less, I need to subtract 4 from a. So my expression is simply a minus 4. Translate the expression into a verbal phrase. So looking at 6x plus 1, I would ask myself, well, what do I need as far as words are concerned to express this? Obviously, 6, the x next to 6 means that I'm multiplying 6 times some number. So 6 times a number. And then at the end of the expression, I'm adding 1. So 6 times a number plus 1. And these you just kind of have to be careful with and take your time. Walk through exactly each term, what's happening with each term, and I think you'll be all right. Let's look at one more example. Number 17, Amber is selling seashells by the pound. She wants to sell seashells of $11 per pound. And so if I were to think in my head, how would I write out an expression? I know it's 11 times x represents my per pound. So if I were to sell 1 pound, I would put 1 in for x, and it would only cost you $11. And we do this kind of math all the time at the grocery store or at Old Navy or wherever we like to buy stuff. If I bought 2 pounds of seashells, it would be 2 times 11 is 22. So we kind of get the idea of how it works. But now I can simplify this by saying 11 times x. Well, that's the same thing as just saying 11x. Hopefully this has given you enough information to be able to feel successful on the rest of this homework assignment. And we will discuss the answers tomorrow in class.